Night. Good night. All right, good night. See you guys later. There was once this Hawaiian king, and he lived in a grass hut, like all Hawaiian kings do. And if you've never been to Hawaii, everybody lives in grass huts out there. It's actually not true. But there was this one Hawaiian king, lived in a grass hut, and one day, he was a very proud man, because most kings tend to be very prideful. And so one day, somebody gifted him these 2 thrones, and they were beautiful, ornately crafted thrones. They weighed like 1 billion pounds each, right? Made of stone, heavy thrones. And this Hawaiian king loved them. He had them on display in his hut, and every time someone would come over, he would show off his thrones. He would say, "Look at my exquisite, ornate thrones. Look how great they make me look." And over time, people gave the king other gifts, right? So his house begins to fill up with other gifts. And years go by. Years later, he's like, you know what? I don't really care that much about these thrones anymore. I'm just going to put them up in the attic. And so he did. He moved those 2 thrones up to the roof of his house, just because he's like, you know what? These are old now. I don't care about them anymore. I'm going to put them on the roof. And so one day he walked into his grass house, and the 2 thrones fell through the roof and killed him. And the moral of this story is people who live in grass houses shouldn't stow thrones. So that's a joke, obviously. I hope you got that. You guys can laugh now. So what we're going to look at today is kind of similar. It's about people who do the wrong things that should be obvious, things that should be self-explanatory. It's just obvious bits of wisdom, which are not necessarily always obvious to everybody. But we're going to look at Psalm 1. I had to do this just because we're millennials. #blessed life. Psalm 1 is about what it looks like to live the blessed life. So we're going to go through just the first 3 verses of Psalm 1 and look at what it means, according to the Bible, to live a blessed life. So why don't I pray and we'll dive in. Also, I apologize for that terrible joke earlier. Also, I apologize if my wrist is distracting. I tweaked it. One of my kids from my youth group jumped on me and hurt it. So, Lord, thank you so much for this night. I pray that tonight you would speak through your word, Lord, that you would give us all something to walk away with tonight, that we would leave here with a hunger and a thirst for your word, Lord, and for you and for your spirit. Lord, speak to us. Give us open ears, open hearts, open minds to receive your word. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, so let's go through this word by word. First word, blessed or blessed. You know what? First, let's read through the whole passage and then go back through word by word. Everybody follow along. Blessed is the one who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the path that sinners take, or sit in the seat of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. And we'll just finish up the whole passage. If you want to go to the next slide. Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. Therefore, the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction. Cool. Thanks, guys. I wasn't expecting you to be along with me. That was cool. So we're going to focus on, like I said, the first 3 verses of this passage. So, starting with the very first word, I want us to understand what the word blessed means. So, what language was the Bible written in?
Hebrew.
Hebrew, thank you. So So if you're familiar at all with the Bible, this language, Hebrew, is so rich with metaphors and with imagery. So when they use a word, as we're going to find out throughout this passage, when they use a word like blessed, it's not like just saying one thing. It's saying a number of things. It's a very rich language. So when they say blessed, the actual word they use in Hebrew is plural, like blessings. As in, many are the blessings of the person who does these things. Or the person who does these things is very, very happy. You can always replace the word blessed with happy. So in other words, it's saying, happy is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked. This person's going to be happy. Are you with me? In other words, if you want real, full, rich happiness, like you can win a bowling tournament and feel happy, right? But he's talking about a rich, deep kind of happiness, okay? So, happy from the core of who he is the one who what? Does not walk in the way of the wicked. So I need a volunteer. I like this guy in the red hoodie. Come on up. What's your name? TJ. I'm Ethan. Good to meet you. Sorry about my bandaged wrist. You actually just hurt it a lot because you squeezed it really hard.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. You didn't. It's not that bad. Okay, so we're going to act this out because on first reading, you might miss some of the things that are happening in this one single verse, okay? So, blessed is the one, happy is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked. So TJ and I are going to go for a walk, right? I'm saying wicked things. I'm the wicked person in this scenario. We're just walking. What'd you say?
You're mean.
I'm mean? I'm not mean, I'm just wicked. Come on. So, we're walking, but at any point, we're walking, TJ could choose to just walk away, right? Walk away. And I go my way, he goes his way. We just took a walk together, right? It wasn't like, we weren't committed to that relationship, right? So TJ, but this is saying don't walk in step with the wicked, right? Don't walk with them. But then what's the next level down? What's the next line say? Don't stand. So now we're not walking, we're standing, we're talking, right? Let's talk about wicked things. Wicked things.
Wicked.
Yeah, we're going to go do some wicked things. Yeah. So we're standing together. We're a little bit more committed than we were when we were taking a walk, right? So we're doing wicked things. Now, what's the difference between a wicked person and a sinner? What do you think the difference is?
Wicked is like, not like pure evil, but pretty evil. And sinner is just like, that's basically kind of like the bad version of our good selves, I guess.
Okay, I'll make it real simple. A wicked, in Hebrew, what it's saying is the wicked person has these ideas up here. They're thinking wicked thoughts, okay? The sinner is the person who acts them out. So a wicked person says, I'm going to punch TJ in the head. The sinner does it. And then I hurt my wrist even more. Okay? So there's progression. First he walked with the person thinking wicked thoughts. Then he stood and talked with the person doing sinful things. Now what's the final step? Sit. Hey, let's take a seat, man. Yeah, mock. Now let's mock. Look at all these jokers. Trumps. I thought you said Trumps. I don't know which is worse. Sit. Now we're sitting. Now he's really committed to the wicked person. You see what I'm talking about? There's this progression. We were walking, and then we stopped and stood, and now we're sitting. Now let me ask you a question. Hey, give it up for TJ. Go ahead and sit down. Thank you, TJ. Let me ask you guys a question. Why is mocking worse than being wicked and being a sinner? It's okay. I'll tell you. A while ago, I was on an airplane flying somewhere, and I was seated next to this this guy in his middle age, probably 50s or 60s years old, right? And when you're sitting next to someone, you know, there's like about 3 molecules between you and that person, so you become pretty close right away, right? So I'm sitting next to this guy, and I see on his phone, he's on his phone, and he's got the NFL, what's it called? The NFL fantasy football. I don't know anything about sports, in case you couldn't tell. He's got fantasy football on his phone, and I'm looking, I kind of glance over, and I notice that this 50-year-old guy's team name for his fantasy team is the Molesters. And I was like, how messed up, how far down that path do you have to go to think that something like that is funny? To make your team name for your fantasy football league something that's horrible, something that cannot be repaired in a human being if it happens to them when they're young, right? Like, how much do you have to take a look at sin and wickedness enough that you can sit back and make fun of it, right? And make light of it and mock it and say, basically, take sin and make something funny out of it. And so in my head, as soon as I sat by that guy, I think I've probably been reading this recently, and in my head I just immediately go, this is what it looks like to sit in the seat of a mocker. To take something so horrendous and twisted and act of it as if it was nothing, as if it's just a funny thing. And that is kind of the conclusion of what it means to sit in the seat of the mockers. Are you guys with me?
Yes.
Are you with me? Do you see that progression? Walking, standing, sitting. Wicked thoughts, wicked actions, making light of those wicked actions, and just mocking them. Nothing is serious, nothing is bad, everything is okay. Right? So we kind of mapped out what it means to be a wicked person. Now let's look at verse 2, what it means to be a happy, blessed person. But the happy person, their delight will be in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. Now I want to zoom in on another word here. This word meditates. What comes to your mind when you think of meditation or meditating? If you're anything like me, exactly. You're probably thinking, you do this, and no one knows why you do this, right? Cross-legged, my fingers are touching, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm meditating, because this is what they do in Lion King, that monkey, right? So you're meditating, and no one really knows what that means. You're like, he's getting really into it over here. He's doing all kinds of hand motions. It's like he's a techno rave, right? Yeah, there's a fine line between techno rave and meditation, but it's somewhere there. So what does it mean to meditate? And this is where I have another image I want you guys to think of when you think of meditation. So the Hebrew word meditate, I want you all to say it with me. The Hebrew word meditate is hagah. So put it up. So hagah. So when you see H's, when you're reading Hebrew words and you see an H, I want you to think of everybody. So everybody say again, hagah. So when the Hebrew says meditate, they're saying he who hagahs on the word of the Lord day and night. Right? So what does this mean? This same word hagah is also found in Isaiah 31 verse 4 with a very different meaning than you'd expect. So in Isaiah 31:4, it says, "For thus the Lord said to me, as a lion or a young lion growls over his prey." This word growls is hagah. Okay? So, to help you guys remember that, I brought my young lion, Onyx. And I want you to remember this image. Okay? So, the image we're talking about is meditating. I don't know if I can get this over. Anybody have a knife? Should have done this before. Yeah. Hey, cordial. I know, right? That's a good one.
Don't worry, you loosened it for me.
Is it? Youth pastor tug of war.
Elliot, what are you doing?
Come on.
I have strong willpower.
This actually smells good. I'm kind of tempted to try it.
Go for it.
So hot, but you give
Who does it first try?
Onyx!
I think you should look.
Onyx! Come here! Onyx! Look at this! Look what I got you. Come here. Sit! There you go. Go to town on it. Hello. Oh, yeah. There we go. Look at that. Okay. I was worried that he would, sometimes when you give him a bone, he just like takes it and runs away. And I was like, please. I even got the bed just to ensure that he would lie down and meditate on this bone. So, why in the world is this happening? Why is Onyx, my dog, chewing on this bone? Look at him, he's going to town on it. This is perfect. Because in Hebrew, the word Hagah, when we're thinking about meditation, I want you to think of my dog right now going to town on this bone. Same word, a young lion growling over his prey, right? He's Onyx, when he's done with this bone, there won't be a scrap of meat left on it, right? There won't be a single thing left for him to pull off because he's already chewed it all off. He's already like gnawed it all off. He's chewed it all off. He's gone to town on it. Look at him. What a good boy. He's not going to leave this thing alone until he's done growling over it, chewing on it, gnawing on it. Are you with me? You with me? So when we go to the word of the Lord, we should approach it like we're doing now. We're going word by word. We're chewing on it. We're thinking about it. How many of you would say that you have this intense of an experience with the word of the Lord? That's okay. I probably don't either as much as I should. No hard feelings here. But this is the image we should have when we think about meditating on the word of the Lord. I had this professor in college, and he would say, he was like, when I was a young man, when I was your guys' age, he said, I would just read 3 verses of the Bible a day. How many have time to read 3 verses of the Bible? Every hand goes up. 3 verses is not that many words, right? You have time for 3 verses a day. And he said what I would do, I would read these verses in the morning, read them through a couple times, just 3 verses, not very much. That's how many we're going through now. 3 verses. And then all day long, with those verses on my mind, I would Hagah on them. My mind would chew them over. It would gnaw off all the meat until it was down to the bone. And I'd gotten every single last scrap of goodness out of that passage. So when the Bible says, meditate day and night on the word of the Lord, this is what I want you to think of. Listen. Okay, I thought that'd be cool. So let's take a look at the last verse, verse 3. That person, the person who does what? Hagah. That person who meditates on the law of the Lord day and night. They are like a tree planted by streams of water, which yield its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. So I got these pictures. I Googled big roots, trees by water. And like these are pretty crazy, right? Like I've seen trees like this before, but still seeing a picture of them, you're like, you look at it and you're like, this thing's not going anywhere, right? Like no one's gonna walk by and accidentally knock that tree over, right? That thing's not gonna budge. And then I have another one which is actually like in the middle of the river, and that looks pretty sweet too. That one's also equally not going anywhere. And what I want you guys to take away from this is, for one, the Bible is so full of these rich metaphors. And when you take time to really go through them, you know, you really think about them, you're like, I really want to be like this tree. I want to be immovable. I want to be so rooted and so planted in what the Lord says, the law of the Lord, because his law brings life, that I'm not moving anywhere. But let me ask you guys this. Does a tree just pop up overnight? Did this tree just pop up like that one night? It was like, hey, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Or did that tree take time? Did that tree take day and night and day and night and day and night for many, many, many years before it looked like that? Right? So if we want to be like this tree planted by streams of water, we have to be committed to what the psalmist says, meditating on the law of the Lord, chewing on it, getting the nutrients out of it, day and night and day and night and day and night, and not taking breaks, not thinking you got to a place where you're like, I think I'm okay, I think I'm good, you know, I'm good with God, I'm going to stop. I had Elliot show that escalator video. Did you guys, the treadmill and escalator video? Did any of you wonder why he showed that?
To remind
Why
us
he
of
did that?
ourselves.
Because it's funny.
It's funny. I actually put that compilation together. I spent like 3 hours today looking up YouTube or treadmill escalator videos because when it comes to our personal growth, when it comes to our lives, do you guys remember that one guy, like the older guy who like fell and he's lying there like upside down and it's just taking him up, and he's just like, or there were a bunch of those, but or all the people that were trying to go up the down escalator. That's kind of what our spiritual life is like. We're either moving up the down escalator, and if we're standing still, we're going down. Does that make sense? Sorry, I know Onyx is being distracting too. I didn't think this through all the way. But that's like us. If we think we're standing still, we're really going backwards and downwards. There is no standing still in the spiritual life. You're moving one direction or the other one. And my prayer for all of you guys in this room here is that you will be like this tree, constantly moving toward the Lord, constantly filling your mind with his word, constantly meditating on his word, and that would draw you closer to him. The other side of that is, I think I forgot to mention this earlier, it matters who you hang out with. Did I say that earlier? It matters who you chill with. You're either walking with people who are walking toward the Lord, or you're walking with people who are walking away from the Lord. Studies have said that more than anything else in your entire life, who you hang out with consistently will determine who you will be in the future. So 10 years from now, if you've hung out with people who are healthy, who are pushing you toward the Lord, pushing you to read the Bible, pushing you into prayer times, statistically, you will be closer to the Lord in 10 years. But if you're hanging out with people who are, smoking stuff, don't really care what their parents taught them, never go to church, never read their Bibles, never pay attention in class in school, they're living that kind of life that's kind of walking away from the Lord, you will end up looking like them. And I don't want you to walk away from this saying, Ethan taught us to hate non-Christians. I'm saying the people that you constantly are with, the people who you're letting influence your life, the people who are getting into the deeper parts of who you are, your closest friends, are going to influence who you become. That's why I hang out with Elliot so much, to be real. Elliot's one of my best friends. And we have this relationship where he always calls me out on stuff that I do that I shouldn't be doing, and vice versa. And we have a great relationship. I have plenty of other friends who are not chasing after the Lord, but I don't let them into that close, intimate place like I do with my close Christian friends. You guys with me? Does that make sense? You see the difference there? Right. So that's just a little bit of wisdom from Psalm 1. I know I was kind of all over the place, but I hope that some of that sticks with you guys. That there's a big difference between the wicked, the people who are not following the Lord, and the ones who end up blessed and happy who do follow the ways of the Lord. Because in verse 4 it says that the wicked blow away like chaff. I put a picture up of chaff. If any of you know what chaff is, this is chaff. All that stuff flying around. Think about that stuff compared to that giant tree you just saw. Which one would you rather be like? The tree, thank you. Right answer, yes. The tree. This chaff is just meaningless. It blows away, and if you are hanging out with people like that, you will blow away too. And I want to see every single one of you rooted and strong and planted in the Lord. So Lord, I thank you so much for this group of students. Thank you that we could come into your word. Thank you that Onyx stayed on his bed the whole time and meditated on his bone. And I pray that as these students go forward tonight, that they would learn what it really means to meditate on your word day and night, to chew it over on their minds and not let it go until every scrap is gnawed off. Lord, bless them. And in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Ethan, you guys can stand up. Everyone say bye, Onyx.
Bye, Onyx.